I am really excited to cover these probate records in this and the next few videos. Wills, inventories, division of property, and guardianship records are my favorite because they usually give us names of relatives. I love deciphering these records. Probate records deal with the wills and dividing up of the estate of the deceased person. This video will show you examples of wills and what to look for in a will. The next video will show you how to find wills in Family Search and Ancestry. Future videos will cover inventories, division of property, and guardianship records. Most of the old wills were written just a short time before a person died. After their death, the family would take the will to the court and have it recorded soon after the death of the person. The inventories, division of property, and guardianship records are not recorded as soon after the death, and sometimes are recorded years after a person's death. This is the will of my fifth great-grandfather, John Thompson. It's very similar to many other wills. I have broken it up into three parts. The first thing to look for is the name on the left side of the will. In many court records, it tells the name of the person at the beginning of the document and is written off to the left. In this case, it says Will J.N.O. Thompson. J.N.O. is an abbreviation for John. Not all court records do this, but it is common and it makes it easier to find the record of the person you are looking for. Second, look for the name at the beginning of the document, in this case, John Thompson. Third, look for the county and state in which the document is recorded. This one is Barron County, Kentucky. Fourth, you will usually need to go down a little ways to begin finding names of relatives or friends listed. The first name is wife, Jane Thompson. Next, we find the mention of children of my son, William Thompson, deceased. We learn that he has a son named William that is already deceased and he has children. This is the next part of the will. We see his son, William's name again. Then we learn that Waddy Thompson will be taking care of the inheritance for William's children. Then we will find a list of his children's names: Horatio Thompson, David Thompson, John Thompson, Talitha Glenn, and heirs of William Thompson. Then we see that the will was signed by John Thompson. The witnesses of John's will are Waddy Thompson, John Lamberth, and James Williams. I, for years, thought that Waddy Thompson is a relative, and I still think he might be. I just haven't made the connection. But the other, John Lamberth, I did find that he is a relative, somewhat distant, but I haven't found any relationship of James Williams. But it is important to note these other people because they're either relatives or neighbors. They're somebody that they knew. But very often they're some way related to the person who's writing the will. This last part shows that it was recorded in Barron County Court in August of 1824. We see that the will is for John Thompson, and it was recorded by William Logan, the county clerk. Most of the old wills have a basic terminology. The following is what you're likely to find. In the name of God, amen. Name of the person and the county and state in which they lived. This is the most important part for you to look for. Then it will state something about their physical well-being and that they're in good mental health. A statement about this being their last will and testament. Something that tells that their soul belongs to God. And then something about their burial. The very first part of most wills begins with a statement and their acknowledgement of God. In this one it says, in the name of God, amen. Somewhere near the beginning of the will should give you the person's name and the county and state they lived in. I, James Sandifer, of the state of Kentucky and county of Greene. It is very common for them to state that they are physically sick, but that their mind is clear enough to write their will. Being weak and sick in body, but of sound mind and memory. A statement is usually given stating that this is their last will and testament. This is my last will and testament. They often state something to let you know they are Christian, a belief. First, I recommend my soul to God who gave it. Information about the burial of their body is usually given. My body to the earth to be buried in a decent Christian manner. In the second section, you will find the names of the people that are listed and the relationship to the person writing the will. So this is an important section. The division of the property often will say item 1, item 2, item 3, etc. Item 1 is often about the debts being paid first. Item 2 is usually the wife if she is still living, but that's not always the case. Before listing people, many people state that their debts should be paid first. First, I will and bequeath for all of my just debts to be paid out of my estate. The names of his sons are listed and what they are to receive at the age of 19. The important thing here is to find the names and relationships of those listed. My desire that my 3 sons, you can't see sons, so that's implied, to wit, James, John, and Alex, when they arrive at the age of 19 years, each have, and he then lists what they get, and I think it was a horse worth $35. Item 3. It is my desire that my beloved wife, Elizabeth Sandifer, enjoy the whole of my estate, both real and personal. What they are to receive is specified. The important thing here is to find the names and relationships of those listed. Usually the wife is the first person mentioned, if she is still alive. This was different in that the sons were listed first. Item 5 gives the names of all of his children near the end. It states, it is my desire that the whole of my personal estate at the death of my wife, or 2/3 thereof at her marriage, in case she should marry, except what sufficient in either case to pay the debts, and the 3 horses mentioned in the second item, be equally divided among my children, Jane, Sally, James, John, Betsy, and Electo. In item 6, he lists all of his children. Among or between my children, William, Samuel, Jane, Sally, James, John, Betsy, and Elick. In the last section, you will want to note the executors, as they are often relatives. Witnesses were sometimes related, but oftentimes are friends. The date of the will is the date it was recorded in the court, so the person usually died shortly before this date. This date can be used to estimate the person's death. This last section should tell you who the executor or executors will be or are, date of the will, witnesses of the will, and signature of the person who is deceased. Item 7. He names those he would like to be his executors of his will. Matthew Kelly and James Durham, the sole executors of this my last will and testament. He then gives the date of the will, which was the 2nd of August, 1816. The witnesses of his will are then listed: Horatio Chandler, Thomas Shipp, John R. Holland, and Will Buckner. The person whose will this belongs to is then written: James Sandifer. Now you're ready to learn how to find wills. The next video will cover how to find wills in Family Search, how to find wills in Ancestry, and the difference between a testate and an intestate will. Happy hunting!